Alright, so what I have here is one of the very first Marine models that I ever painted. Is a Terminator. Salamanders Terminator. I got them on eBay in a lot with a bunch of other Terminators. And I noticed that this one was different. As you can see, he's got that big old flamer, and he's got the Deathwatch pauldron, and I thought it was like a kit bash, captain. But the facial features, the way he stands was different from the rest of the Terminators. Just didn't quite look the same, and I didn't really think much of it at the time. Now, this sucker was being one of the first ones I painted over him like 100 times. I just was never happy with it, and I just kept adding more paint and more paint and more paint. And he has like 6 layers of paint on him. It was one of those things where I just couldn't leave him alone. Like I'd get one part looking good, and it would smudge over because to another part, and then I'd paint that over and smudge over the part that looked good, and then I would paint over that, and now it looks like shit, and now I'm repainting the whole thing, and by the time I was done, I was just like fed up with it, and I'm done with it. This is just what he's going to look like. And as you can see, he's not horrible, especially for one of my first models that I ever painted. Now, I didn't realize it, but with the release of the new Space Marine 2, Demetrius Titus, the captain, he got demoted to lieutenant, was in the Deathwatch, and I got to thinking that Terminator's got a Deathwatch pauldron. And I looked him up. As it turns out, he's a named character, Garren Branatar. He's let me see, what kill team is he in here? Kill team Cassius. Garren Branatar. So he's a badass Salamanders who got assigned to the Deathwatch, Kill Team Branatar. And he notable campaigns. He's a cool character. His data sheet, man. This guy's with that flamer. He does some damage. Now, is he playable under regular 10th edition rules? Yeah, I can run a kill team or a Deathwatch kill team if I want to. But can I run him with the Salamanders? Yes and no. I think he would lose some of the advantages that he would normally have with that big ass mega melter or giant flamer. I don't even know what they call it. Is it? What do you call that giant flamer he's carrying around? But it's huge. It's a big old boy. So I wanted to paint him properly. I wanted to paint him in his Deathwatch colors, in the way that most Deathwatch Marines are painted. Is they paint their armor black, but they keep their right pauldron in their chapter insignia. So as you can see, lighting's not very good. He's got his green Salamanders pauldron. The rest of him is black, and his arm is all silver, with the exception of the skull and that little, what do you call that? The little Nazi-esque cross thing on it. As you can see, still a little bit of minor touch-up work to finish, but he is now correctly painted. And this video just shows you how I'm stripping him, priming him, painting him. Now, at the same time, I finished, this is Vulcan Hestand. He's the Forge Father. I needed him to complete my army. When I run him, he gives huge buffs, especially to Infernus Marines. I haven't finished these guys yet. As well, basically anybody that's got a flame weapon, this guy gives buffs to holding territory, and it just is one of like the most OP. This little tiny model, they need to do a new one of him, because this is the old what is it, the Fine Cast, and he's tiny compared to his modern counterparts. As you can see, it's like little midget dude. This guy is way more powerful than this guy, but he looks like he's like little Master Yoda. He's got Vulcan's spear, and he's got his cloak, and he's got his gauntlet. This guy's OP. He's awesome. He's one of the. If you're gonna run characters on a board, this is one of the best ones in the game, and yet this is the model they got for him. Like, seriously, like, if you go on, you just look at all the data sheets for all the captains and above that you can run on a board, aside from Primarchs themselves, and this guy is OP as hell, but he's just got this tiny little, you know, I don't know. But the detail's amazing on him. I love the way he turned out. Still got to, got to do a couple of his purity seals, and I got to finish the base. But other than that, I don't know. I think he turned out okay. Focus, focus, focus. Come on, focus. But and the reason why I'm painting him alongside of Garren here is because they use a lot of the same colors, and I'm like figuring, well, if I'm going to do him, I might as well finish this guy up. This is what I needed so I can run my army. I have about 5,000 points of Salamanders, and I obviously could run an army without him, but it doesn't make sense for with him and who's the other one? Adrox Agatone. If you have those two, you can run a pretty OP objective holding 2,000 point army with just intercessors, Infernus Marines, and maybe some Terminators, a handful of Terminators, assuming they got flame weapons. And you can. It's a really simple, easy beginner army that you know, anybody could just jump into and play, and that's kind of why I liked them. My son and I, we looked at all the different armies you could start with, and this lineup seemed to be one of the easiest to just kind of paint, get on a board, and play. So that's why we picked them. So now that you got the who and why, we're going to go with how. How do we do this? Paint thinner you can use, obviously, but it's kind of messy, it's hazardous, it's nasty. Gotta do something with it. A lot of times, if you have a freshly painted model, and it's only got one coat of paint on it, like a primer and some paint, you can probably get away with scrubbing it under some hot water. But if it's got 30 coats like this bad boy had, what I found to be the simplest and easiest solution is to simply take rubbing alcohol. The stronger the better. I used 50% because that seems to be all you can get in stores these days. But if you can find 75, 99% rubbing alcohol, put it in a little tub, let this sucker soak for at least an hour. You can leave it overnight if you want. I left mine overnight. And then get to scrubbing with a toothbrush. Now, I used an electric toothbrush because it's easier. No joke, this guy had a lot of paint on him. I would imagine any of these Marines that I've painted would probably take minutes to get the paint off. But this sucker, because it was one of the first ones I ever did, it had a tough go. So it's handy to have something like a toothpick or a little prodding tool so you can get in the little nooks and crannies. But for the most part, if you leave a model with acrylic paint soaking in rubbing alcohol overnight, it'll just slough off. You can literally just brush it right off, rinse it under hot water, and get to priming. Now, I know a lot of people, you can primer by hand, or you can use an airbrush, and that's what most people, that's the preferred method. But for me, I just use rattle can. I got the old, and I don't even use model paint. I did have the Army Painter primer paint, and it's like $15 a bottle. You can just get Krylon primer, white and black, and I have not noticed a single solitary difference. And at $6 a bottle, $6 to $8 depending, why spend that much money? Now, you obviously with the rattle can, the downside is if you don't spray it nice and even, it comes out thick. So you gotta be kind of give her, you saw me dusting it when I was doing it. And what I like to do is I like to prime all my models black, and then I dust it with a little bit of white on the top. Now, the professional painters will tell you to do that so that the white will keep the areas that the light are hitting it lighter, and the areas that are shaded or hidden from the light darker. But for me, because I'm getting older and my eyesight's not that great, another added benefit is that once you dust it with some white paint, all the little details stand out, and it makes it way easier to just see and distinguish all the little tiny bits, like the eyes and the lenses on the I don't know what we call that, the lenses on the implants, that kind of thing. So that's to me, that's more of the reason why I do it. Because here's the thing, it's like when you're using a paint like the Salamander, like Nocturne Green, it doesn't really matter if it's black or white. It's going to kind of coat the same, and I have not observed any discernible difference in the shading as far as like using black or white. But I would imagine if you're using lighter colors, like your yellows, your oranges, or white even, white is almost impossible to paint, and you don't want to paint a model white. You want to paint it something like off-white, like a bone color, a wraith bone, that kind of thing, and then highlight it with white. It's very difficult to get contrasting. So in lighter color models, I would think that that's going to be more of an issue than it is for darker color models. And if you're painting with silvers, like Gray Knights or what do you call those? These Necrons. Necrons. If you guys are looking for an easy beginner model to paint, Necrons are the way to go. You simply slap some Necron silver on there, and you douse it with a black shader, let that dry, and then highlight it, dry brush it with some silver, and then do the glowy parts. You just, whatever you want to glow, you paint with a little bit of white around the edges on the little glowy balls, and then you dry brush the green or blue respectively right over it, and you have a done model. It's literally 4 steps, and you have an army. You can have an army painted in an hour. and it's passable for board play. We call that table ready. As with anything, if you want it to look really good, it's going to take some time. As you can see, I would call this tabletop plus. Because my eyesight is starting to, like, I can see perfectly fine. I've been a 20/40 vision guy my entire life, but now that I'm 50, I'm starting to need glasses, and I have when I start really focusing, and my eyes will start watering, and I got to break out it's just, I have this issue where once I get to tabletop plus, which is, so to be legal on the tabletop, you need 3 colors, but I have a really easy format that I follow, which is I prime it, I use all my base colors, I color it in flat, I add shading, so some sort of a shader, like neem oil, or just whatever shader you want, and then I go back in and highlight I use a darker coat on the bottom, add shading, go into the lighter one and do the highlights, and then do a little edge painting. And that's a really simple process. If I go any higher than that, I have a tendency to screw it up, and it winds up looking worse. You ever paint a model and you got you're into your 3rd step and it's starting to look really good, and then you go to do your edge highlighting and it just winds up getting sloppy and you mess it up and it looks worse? That's me. So I have to learn to go, okay, it's good enough, leave it. So where I'm at with my skill and ability to get the best product, I have I call it tabletop plus. Like the flames, I start with white, I add a little bit of yellow, I add a little bit of orange, I dry brush with dark red, and then I go lightly with browns and blacks and just kind of streak it in there. But I've seen guys, they can do flames that look real. I'm not there yet. This is passable. The other thing I like to do is I like to use fluorescent paints for my whites or my lighter colors like yellow, which is cool because I can turn lighting on. And the flames glow. How cool is that? It's probably a little too strong, but so check his little flame out. And in my display case, I have full spectrum lighting, so it's just enough black light with the white where the colors will glow softly, and it looks really, really cool in the display case. I would say I'm more into painting the models than I am playing the game, but I'm going to make a video and I'm going to show you guys my Salamanders lineup so you can just see how awesome. We have everything. We have the Primarch, we've got the Forge Father, we've got the Captain Adrix Agatone, we've got the Intercessors, we've got a Terminator, we've got our Dreadnought, we got 2 Terminator squads. We got everything. I got I got to finish these bikers up. I got 2 squads of these guys, and the only thing I'm missing is a transport, and I haven't decided if I'm going to get, like, something along the lines of a Rhino with flamers is what I would really need to be successful with this lineup. So I haven't decided what, and I have a whole bunch that I could steal, because I have I got a bunch of different transports for Chaos and Ultramarines, and I could just steal one of those and paint it up if I wanted to. But I want to get something specific. I'm not sure. It needs to carry at least a Terminator squad or an Intercessor squad. It's got to be big enough to carry those. I got to be able to get those Terminators into battle, get them there on the front line, and get those flame units going. And then, of course, with Papa here, he gives them buffs for holding territory, and Adrox Agatone, they both give buffs to rerolls, saving rolls, and flamers and melters. And Salamanders, everything's on fire. Now, in other Warhammer 40k news, I just learned that the newest army is the Inquisition. Holy crap, are you kidding me? So, who fights for the Inquisition? Well, the Inquisition's just a bunch of Inquisitors. That doesn't make an army. Who do they use? The Sisters of Battle and the Grey Knights and Deathwatch? Wait a minute. Deathwatch, Sisters of Battle, Inquisitors, and Grey Knights. Trust me, I've got a lot of Grey Knights. I've got a lot of Grey Knights. I got a lot of Sisters of Battle, but I kind of don't have like a complete army of either until now. So I'm building me an Inquisition army. I'm gonna go out and buy the I'm gonna buy the box set, and it basically has all the main characters, if you will, and then you can run Grey Knights and Sisters and Deathwatch, and you've got an army, and it's awesome. It's like the coolest army ever. It's, I could never decide, do I go with Sisters of Battle, do I go with Grey Knights, and I'm really liking Deathwatch. Which one do you pick? How do you run them? Now you can run all 3. What? So you got your, if you're like me, you just like paint them because they're cool, and you got them, and you wish you could play them. Now you can. Holy crap. Now, how awesome of an army is it? I have no idea. I got to get their codexes. I got to learn me all their tricks and stuff, but they look really cool, and that's kind of all I'm going with right now. I don't know. What do you guys think? The Inquisition, how awesome is that? So, unless you live under a rock, if you play video games, the new Space Marine 2 is out, and it looks awesome, and of course the reviews are out. And I just happened to go on Steam to start looking at the reviews, just seeing what everyone's saying. And they're already bitching about not having diversity in the game. It's like a male fantasy. Can't we just have one trans person? Can't there be one female Marine? They only have to be on screen for a few minutes, and then I would feel like I'm represented. And if you go down and look at the comments, and they're arguing back and forth about why there shouldn't be female Space Marines, and they're like, oh, but the Custodes did it. And, you know, it's just going back and forth. I just kept thinking to myself, does this person play Warhammer? How could you? Because for you to say that there's no female or diversity is just absurd. I mean, what did I just tell you I'm going to be running? Sisters of Battle. An army of all women. That's all they are, is women. Just like the Space Marines are all men. Where's the issue? So, what it comes down to is we're not allowed to have a male-only space. How dare we have an army that's just men? No, there's got to be diversity in it. Well, what about the Sisters of Battle? Does there have to be diversity in that? Can I start making Misters of Battle? I'm just going to start making... Oh, I've got my next artwork project. You guys are going to love it. Hell yeah. Misters of Battle, baby. Yes, sir. Yep. I'm going to start making Battle Sisters with 5 o'clock shadow, you know. Maybe a little Adam's apple action. Yeah. No, you don't hear them bitching and moaning about trying to insert men or trans into the Sisters or the Sisters of Silence, which the Custodes already have. They're essentially the same army. You do not have Custodes on the game board without Sisters of Silence if you're running a larger army. They're together. They're the same thing. They're essentially the women Custodes. But no, that wasn't good enough. They had to insert a female into it. They just had to. Okay, fine, whatever. And if you look at Warhammer, what is it, Age of Sigmar, you know, they got the, the Stormcast Eternals, and a lot of those are women, and you really can't even distinguish between the men and the women, and they're all wearing the big armor, and they look good. I like the models. I think they look awesome. Whatever. Hey, that's fine. Whatever. You made the change. You know, you gaslit us about how they've always been there, and it's like, we all know that's bullshit. But whatever, man. They made the change. Would I buy the models? If they look good. But, you know, they're going to just look like dudes with hair. Whatever. Leave the Space Marines alone. You know, here's my thought. You guys just came out with a game that's strictly LGBT and diversity. It's called Concord. And it had millions of dollars in producing this game, and it failed miserably. It was one of the worst releases of all time. Why? Was it a bad game? Did it have bad mechanics? Did it have bad graphics? The characters looked terrible, and we weren't interested. We didn't care. That was a game for you. You wanted that. And guess what? Nobody wants to play it. So what do you want? You want us to force us to play your game? No, you have your game. You made it. Nobody's interested. Obviously, you don't have the people to support it. And now it's failing, and now they're canceling the game. So what do? You insert yourself in games that we like, that are maybe for us and not you. You know, that's my whole point is, you don't have to be represented in everything. You can make your own. But don't bitch and moan when nobody wants to play it. Space Marines, they are what they are. Yeah, you got a dude running around with a hammer and he's bashing the crap out of stuff. It's awesome. Leave it. There's nothing wrong with it. Not everything has to be for you. If they, you know, and I'm glad that Games Workshop's not backing down, and the sales speak for themselves. You know, they're basically saying that we should boycott this game, and if we're playing it, we're all ists and phobes or whatever. No, it is just, it's not, it has nothing to do with you. We weren't thinking about you at all until you raised your hand and shoved your genitals in our face and said, look at me. Like, okay, go away. Play and shut up or go away. You're welcome to join us, but shut up. God, why does everything have to be, just drives me nuts. But then for them to say that there's no diversity. What? Okay, pick an army. You got the Imperial Guard. There's tons of women, and a lot of them are in advanced leadership positions, and they're really cool characters. She's got a badass sword. She's got a plasma. And she's got big old bitties. Whatever. They got armies that are just women. What about orcs? Oh, orcs are asexual. I think they grow from spores. We've talked about this. Leave the orcs alone. Leave the Marines alone. Stop it. Half the Inquisition are women. Oh, and they're badass, too. This is Inquisitor Greyfax. Let me get the lighting in there. She is awesome. Oh, man. Yeah, so I'm going to build a diorama. It's going to be Inquisitor Greyfax, Saint Celestine, the Primarch Gilliman, and you see where I'm going with this, right? And I need those two elves, the one chick and the dude. And Majos, what's his name? The Martian. They brought the Gilliman back to life. I'm going to make a diorama of that group of characters. And Inquisitor Greyfax and Saint Celestine are two of the three women that were involved with that. The other one was the elf that he had an affair with. I forgot. What's her name? In the comments, hit me up. You know what I'm talking about. That sounds like diversity to me. And the other quote there, they said, well, what Sisters of Silence and the Sisters of Battle, they're all white. No, they're not. No. If you look at the model box, they're all different races and colors of skin, so I don't want to hear that nonsense either. The only way you could say that 40K is not diverse is if you've never played it and you've only seen the video game and you've only read Reddit posts. You don't know what you're talking about, so shut the fuck up. What does the left always say? Read a book. Well, read one. Seriously, there's millions of them. The Black Library. You have diversity. Why does everything have to be, just stay out of it. Let us have our thing. I'll tell you what, if I had my choice between running the Salamanders or the Battle Sisters, I would definitely pick the Battle Sisters. They are way cooler. But they're also harder to run, the models are expensive, and they're a pain in the ass to paint. That's it. That's the only reason why I went with the Salamanders. That my son really thinks they're awesome. So, Alright. I think that's enough out of me. Man, I am super happy with the way he turned out. And, that's not too bad either. What do you guys think of the old man's paint job? I've seen worse. Alright, it's late. I gotta get to bed. I'm on vacation for the next few days, so I'm gonna be painting a lot. I got a ton of stuff to catch up on. Love you guys. See you on the battlefield.